Welcome back to Pastry Maestra. I'm Teresa and today I'm making sponge cake. Grandpa is having a birthday and chewing is quite an adventure for him. Well, do not despair. There is a solution and it's called a sponge cake. And if you enrich your grandpa's sponge cake with tasty filling that melts in one's mouth, he will have a happy 99th indeed. Not only that, his 99 days old great-grandson will easily join him too. However, this delicacy isn't for the toothless only. In fact, it was even served at the court of Spain around the middle of the 16th century because, the legend has it, it was apparently invented by the Italian pastry chef Giovanni Battista Cabona, resident Spanish court pastry chef of that time. The Italian name for sponge cake is pan di Spagna, which means bread from Spain. Some 2 centuries later, in 1843, English food manufacturer Alfred Bird discovered baking powder, which enabled the sponge to rise higher, and that's how the Victoria sponge was born. It was named after Queen Victoria, of course. A typical Victoria sponge consists of raspberry jam and whipped double cream, or vanilla cream. The jam and cream are sandwiched between 2 sponge cakes, and the top of the cake is dusted with icing sugar. So, if you are a king or a queen, if you have teeth or not, it doesn't matter. This is a one-stop sweet solution for everybody, and today I'll show you how to make it. As usual, the recipe is on my site. The link is down below. The first thing I'm gonna do is prepare my mold. I'm gonna brush the bottom of my 15 by 15 centimeters, which is 6 by 6 inches pan with melted butter. Then I'll put parchment paper on the bottom of the mold. Don't brush the sides of the pan with butter because the sponge cake won't cling to the mold and it will shrink during baking. Here I have egg yolks and sugar. I'll put approximately half of the sugar into egg yolks and whisk them until the mixture becomes thick and pale. Next thing I'm gonna do is make French meringue out of egg whites and the rest of the sugar. I've placed egg whites into a bowl of a stand mixer fitted with whisk attachment, and now I'll whisk them to soft peaks. Then I'm gonna add sugar gradually and continue whisking until stiff peaks form. Now I have 3 bowls in front of me: French meringue, blanched egg yolks and sifted flour. I'll add approximately 1/3 of the meringue into the yolk mixture and gently fold with rubber spatula. Then I will incorporate half of the flour into the yolk mixture. Now it's time for the second third of meringue. I'm gonna add rest of the flour. I will finish with the rest of the meringue. It is important not to overmix the batter because by doing that you will lose all the air bubbles and your sponge cake won't rise as it should. Mix just enough to get uniform mixture. I'll pour the mixture into the prepared pan and then I will level the top of the sponge cake with my small spatula. I'll bake my sponge cake at 180 degrees centigrade, which is 350 Fahrenheit, for 30 to 35 minutes, or until a cake tester comes out clean when inserted into the cake. My sponge cake is done and cooled. To take it out of the pan, I'll separate the sponge cake from the mold with my small knife. Then I will take it onto a rack and remove the parchment paper. There, my sponge cake is done. I'll cut the sides of the sponge cake so you can see the lovely texture inside. It is full of little holes, and since there is no baking powder in the recipe, the holes are actually air bubbles that I whipped into the meringue. Look how soft and elastic it is. It bounces back like a spring. All I need now is a filling or two, and Grandpa will have a delicious birthday. Enjoy!
Oh baby, you are so sweet, so delicious and yummy, so good to eat. I wanna lick you, feel your sweetness on my lips. Forever and ever, you'll stay on my hips.
I'm Teresa. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it. If you want to stay in touch, follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and of course, visit my site, where you can find elaborate posts with lots of pictures, additional information and recipes that follow my every video. Also, on my site you can download my free 365 pages ebook The Pastry Chef and maybe buy me a macaron, if you think that I've earned it. Now, before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That really helps a lot. Finally, and this is the most important thing, don't forget to create sweetness every day, because sweetness is happiness. See you in my next video. Bye!